What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and some of you have already taken a look at the title and are probably thinking, what the hell is going on? What has happened to Devil? Has he been kidnapped? Why is he talking about something other than DMC? And to those of you, I say just hold on for a moment. Some of you may or may not know that way back when, before I sort of started covering DMC, I did actually focus on a few anime games, namely the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series, as well as the initial release of Attack on Titan on PS4. Plus, it should come as no surprise that somebody who is an avid fan of DevilNeverCry is also into anime. With that said, I want to get onto the topic of today's video, and that is of course Fairy Tail. It is a game that is set to be released, I believe, 20th of March next year in 2020. And the reason why I am so interested about it is not only because I am a fan of Fairy Tail. Reading through the manga was something I did way back when. I used to keep up with it, in fact. But also because it is different than your usual anime game. So more often than not, licensed anime games tend to be fighters. Whether it's a 2D fighter or a 3D arena brawler, most action animes tend to lend themselves to the genre quite well. And don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of those games. I mean, you've got Dragon Ball FighterZ, or even older games like J-Star Victory Versus or Bleach Heat the Soul 7 or 8. I can't remember what it ended on. But, you know, I'm a big fan of those games, but I felt some sort of fatigue that, you know, game after game after game was just almost similar in the same sort of formula. But that is why I am so interested in Fairy Tail, is the fact that it seems to be switching things up entirely and going for an RPG format. So for those of you who don't know much about the Fairy Tail game, or didn't even know it was announced, it was only announced a couple months ago, around the time of Tokyo Game Show. But it is set to be an open world RPG, a turn-based one at that, so some of you turn-based purists will be happy to know that. You'll be going through, I believe, several arcs from the story. Not entirely sure if it will cover the beginning all the way to the end, but there will be several arcs. And of course, you'll be able to sort of play as different characters. How many? I think the rough number being thrown around is 10 or just over 10. Obviously, you've got Natsu, who's the main protagonist, or some people might refute that. Wendy, Lucy, Gray, and Urza, which, you know, it's good to see. I'm wondering what they're going to do, if they're going to throw in some sort of game-specific scenarios, just to keep people who are, you know, well entrenched in Fairy Tail on their toes. Maybe throw in a few certain surprises. But apparently you'll be able to sort of build up your guild. You'll be able to recruit people, obviously. Not everybody who is able to be recruited is playable. Some of them, I think, are going to be supporting characters. But I think it's interesting to see, you know, developer take such a, I don't want to say drastic, because obviously RPGs are fairly popular, but it's interesting to see a developer take it down another route, because they easily could have done something akin to a fighting game, or like an arena brawler, such as the Kill la Kill game that was actually recently released, which I had a fair amount of fun with actually, but as you guys know, I wasn't able to cover because good old content bans on social media, yeah. But despite the game obviously being an RPG, some people might think, oh, it's going to be turn-based, it's going to be slow, it's not going to be like Fairy Tail, but I think Gust, who are the developers of this, have done a fairly well job looking at the gameplay, of sort of meshing the two together. I mean, an RPG is all about, you know, either attacking or using magic, and hey ho, Fairy Tail is literally all about magic. So it's kind of a no-brainer that things sort of mesh quite well together. But not only that, the game does look fantastic from a graphical perspective. I mean, when it comes to anime-esque games, cel shading seems to be the standard. But it's good to see that Gust have done a fantastic job with sort of capturing the look from the anime, because obviously, believe it or not, cel shading can be done quite poorly. But it doesn't seem to be the case here, which is pretty cool. Obviously, as a fan of action games, or stylish action games, frame rate's a pretty big deal to me. Not so much so when it comes to an RPG, but hey, everybody loves a smooth ass frame rate. So I can't really seem to find anything in terms of like a consistent or solid number as to what the game runs at, but it is good to hear that the frame rate is somewhat consistent, because let's be honest, nobody wants to play a game where you're constantly pulling out flashy techniques only for the frame rate to tank. Regardless, I am looking forward to Fairy Tail. I'm also looking forward to what it means for licensed games in the future. Provided that Fairy Tail is a success, and at this point I don't know why it wouldn't be. I mean, Fairy Tail is still a pretty big heavy hitter of a IP, and the game does seem to have all the makings of being decent. It means that, maybe some other developers might take a risk with the licensed games that they're making. Instead of making the standard 2D fighting game or, 3D arena brawler, maybe they'll branch out and make an RPG or a tactical RPG. Who knows? Don't get me wrong, what I wouldn't give for a JoJo's fighting game, or heck, give me another goddamn Bleach Heat the Soul. But I think it'll lend itself to creativity fairly well, and perhaps even eliminate some of that franchise fatigue. Looking at you, Storm 4. Lord knows I was ready to be done with that game, despite the fact that it was polished and at times even looked better than the anime itself. The same thing just over and over, just kind of killed the enjoyment for me. But with all that said and done, I will stop blathering on now. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you looking forward to Fairy Tail? Are you even a fan of Fairy Tail? Do you know what Fairy Tail is? Do you hate anime? Do you think anime games are a bane of this world? I want to know, so let me know down in the comments below. And of course, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.